Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Messenger. In the last part we went through Bubble Group Swamp? No, Bamboo Creek and the Howling Grotto, and now we're in Quillshroom Marsh, which is this game's Bubble Group Swamp. That is the rare Banjo-Kazooie reference for me. This was probably one of my least favorite areas when I first played the game, but coming back to it I honestly really like it. I've always loved swamp levels. Also, there's quicksand here. If you sink low enough in it, you die. Most of the time. This is something you're not supposed to know about until repeated playthroughs of the stage for reasons I'll go over later, which is why this platforming section is out of nowhere kind of hard, especially the jump between this next lantern and the one after it. But since I know it's here, I'm going to get it now, just to make things a bit simpler later on. Which means when I eventually get to that point, I'll just have to refer y'all to part 4. This doesn't even act as a shortcut, it's just to grab something. And that something is that thing. We got the magic seashell. Legend says the seashell lets its bearer hear the call of the deep. I forget if there's actually context-sensitive dialogue, depending on when you get that. I think there might be, but honestly, I can't recall. With that said, here's our first shop, which means it's time for our usual stuff for the start of an area. Let's see what the shopkeeper has to say. And I can't buy anything. So about that emerald golem. I still can't believe you defeated the emerald golem. Did you get a chance to understand its motive? That thing wasn't evil, it was just digging away. What? You mean all these messengers that were killed? All a misunderstanding. Wow. What about the current area? Welcome to Quillshroom Marsh, said no one ever. Yeah, this place is eerie. Tell me about it. I once had to look through the mud for an artifact. Gave up pretty quickly. What happened to this area? Legend says it used to be ruled by a monstrosity called the Primal Fear until a brave monk defeated it. Both were very mighty indeed, but with its final breath, the Primal Fear cursed the monk forever. Cursed? Legend says that the monk still roams the marsh to this day, turning only trespassers into fungi. Oh, great. No one knows whether any of that is true, but yeah, I'd pick up the pace if I were you. Any stories to share? Of course, here's one for you. There once was a messenger who kept asking for stories. Even though he was supposed to move on with his very important quest, he just couldn't get enough. The shopkeeper, living in a void outside of time, was connected to all eras, so at first was very happy to share the myths and legends encountered over decades of traveling. Alas, the messenger never seemed to appreciate the morals or takeaways, so the shopkeeper decided to be done with the stories thing. The end. No way, I liked your stories. Come on. Maybe later, we'll see. Good, because it's one of the funniest things in the damn game. Now, something I should go into more detail about is Korbel, and more specifically his mechanics. Obviously, when you die, he shows up, and then he takes away any time shard that you collect whenever he's with you. Except for when boss fights happen or in between levels where he disappears. The exact mechanics for him is that when you die, he's around for 60 seconds. Every time shard you collect, he takes, but reduces the time he's there by half a second. There is also an ability that you can get once you first die, that costs, I think, 400 time shards, that reduces the amount of time he's there to 30 seconds, meaning at minimum you only need to get 15 time shards for him to go away, at maximum... Wait, am I mathing that correctly? No, you need 60 minimum and 120 minimum for normal. Sorry, math isn't my strong suit. I was the science guy, which was always applied math anyway. I didn't used to be an English dude, but now I can do it okay. Especially in my pathology course, that was cool. Despite the Quillshroom Marsh's obsession with quicksand, / I guess it's supposed to be mud, actually just based off the line from the shopkeeper, most of the gimmicks rely on its enemies. Especially these mushrooms who fling their caps at you all over the place, sort of like a certain Kirby enemy. But yeah, I should note, the line from the shopkeeper is there to hint to you that the magic conch shell, or whatever the hell it was called, is there. Because you do need that eventually, and the only way you're supposed to figure out that it's there is either through a slight hint you can get otherwise, and that. Since I know it's there, I just grab it now. Just to simplify things later on. Also, I'm gonna be real, I don't think I ever noticed that the mushrooms have faces before. That's remotely disturbing. Okay, then. Admittedly, there is something I like about the background of this area, because I've always just loved swamp aesthetics, but I'm talking specific, I think it's coming up on the next screen even. Right there, right next to the shop door, you see that thing that looks like a tree? That's actually supposed to be a skeletal hand. And in the game's files, it's listed as Primal Fear, meaning that that's supposed to be the hand of the thing that that monk took down however long ago. It's the only actual other reference to the thing in the game, barring like one or two other dialogue lines. That's just what I'm wondering if they're gonna, obviously because we know they're at this point they're making that other game, Sabotage Studios, that is based in the same world that I mentioned, I think last part. I'm wondering if they're just planning on whenever they make a game to make it based in this world, at least for a bit, because there's so many lore possibilities they've already set up. Like the Primal Fear could be its own thing, or it could even tie into elements of that other game, based off they described primals as apparently essentially giant manifestations of human emotion. So that is the primal of fear, unlike Final Fantasy XIV where the primals are gods, essentially, made of mana and other stuff. 14's lore is surprisingly deep, but at the same time it's like, okay, we get it, these are just your excuses to have the summons in the game. Though I was kind of surprised at how little Shadowbringers did with that. Like in a happy way, because I'm glad they stepped away from that during the main game at least, barring a slight reference to certain things like Bismarck. That was a cool Bismarck moment. Saw it coming too, because I pointed out that that certain thing looked like a certain thing on the map, and he said nothing, but he was cursing behind the scenes. Huh, more of those blue flies. We saw some of those back in Autumn Hills. I wonder what those are about. Wink. I will say, if you're being reckless, this stage is a bit of a trial, because there are a lot of enemies, and the breaks between the checkpoints are a bit more than previous stages. So it's very easy to take a lot of damage very quickly, especially if you try to forget that you can't actually bounce off spike balls and fall right into one like that. I take a couple of dumb deaths throughout this LP. I forget the exact death count I end on by the end of everything. I know the time shards that Korbel eats is somewhere around 750, but I forget the actual death count because it's very possible to die without collecting time shards. And apparently, I was even doing some research on the wiki in between parts. Korbel was originally supposed to stay during boss fights, but apparently the devs found him too distracting from the boss's patterns and therefore just took him out from that. And I'm thankful, because visual distraction during boss fights sucks. With that though, speaking of boss fights, we're coming up on this level, so let's go see what the Shopkeeper has to say. Need anything? What about the boss? Be careful, I sense a Fallen up ahead. Fallen? It's how we call messengers whose quest came to a tragic end, their power corrupted by demon magic. Why are you so serious all of a sudden? Because it doesn't get more serious than a rogue messenger about to unleash on you. And with these stories about a monk, if it really is that one monk, what are you talking about? About you meeting your match. Good luck. Well, if you're being that serious, that's a little foreboding. Also, accidentally selected the current area thing again. At this point in the upgrade trees is where you really start to have a lot of choice of what you want to go for first. I generally go for the thing on the very top first. Well, well, well. It seems we have an intruder. You need to get out of here. This place is filled with monsters. Oh, did my Quillshroom scare you? So it's true? Don't like my army. It's a shame, really, since you're about to join it. Wait, that scroll. It couldn't be. No, impossible. Kneel before your queen and receive the curse of quills. Next boss fight is against the Queen of Quills, who uses these strange hooks on the wall to her advantage. She'll jump all over the place, shooting little, I guess, seeds at the ground. If you touch them, you get turned into a Quillshroom. Mashing out is how you get out of that. She then tries to go down and attack you, and she can also spawn various enemies. She namely spawns the giant vine enemies, And what they're trying to do is give you ways to cloud step up to her, especially once she's on the higher hooks. She also notably has a whip attack she can do where she'll just kind of jump towards right around you, but not directly into you, so you'll try to jump into her and get hit by her or otherwise. And a bit of a spin attack that sends quills out in either direction around her for about a second, not even. You can jump over it. It's without a doubt the most complicated boss thus far, and one I expect newcomers to die on easily, because she moves much more fast than any other boss thus far, and she's hard. A rewarding boss all the same, though. And additionally, if you're going for the no death achievement for a certain point in the game, this is the final boss for that achievement, because once you defeat her, it pops. It's a hard one, but it's, I hear, a satisfying challenge. Also, this game has good boss themes. The bosses overall in this game just come down to good pattern recognition, and the Queen of Quills is probably one of the most cases of that, just because if you're paying attention, you're going to have a good time. What the hell? Now wait a second. Who do you think you are? I'm Quillbel. Quillbel? That makes no sense. Why have I never seen you before? I was exiled a long time ago, when I got cursed along with my messenger. That voice. Are you? Out of here, you bet. See ya, sucker. Also notable, if you got this far without dying, obviously you haven't seen Korbel. So what happens is the Queen of Quills gets warped away by that greed demon, and then the ninja just looks left and right confused and does the With that, welcome to the Searing Crag. This is one of my favorite songs in the game as well. I could just say that for the entire soundtrack, can't I? This is our mountain level. And that's one of the hooks from the Queen of Quills fight. Can't do anything with that. Shopkeeper, got a problem out there. Congratulations, you made it to the base of the mountain. Almost there. Do you know what this means? I don't know. Does it mean you have another dialogue trap for me? What? Oh, so you're just gonna try and steal my character like that? I guess you think you deserve a prize? No. Well, you do. Plus, you'll never be able to make the climb without the rope dart. The rope dart? Don't overthink it. Everyone will probably just end up calling it the grappling hook anyway. Here. And we get the rope dart. Press B to throw, trying to rings, lanterns, walls, and enemies. Need anything? Yeah, let's chat. What about that, monk? About that monk. It is as I feared. Our most promising messenger did not die, but was instead cursed forever. She became the Queen of Quills. How did that happen? This is a tale for another time. Okay, what about the rope dart? So thanks for the rope dart. Oh, do you think that was an awkward interaction? Yeah, could say that. Clearly you never had to tell your boss that your little experiment went wrong, permanently impacting one of your colleagues. Hey, I heard that. Anyway, you can use it on rings, lanterns, walls, and enemies. Go nuts! Any stories to share? Do you have any stories to share? Of course, here's one for you. It's a story I once told the guy who hooked me up with the music for my shop. There once was a village struggling to figure out who the werewolf was. People kept dying every full moon, and very gorily at that. One day, a brave young couple decided to venture into the woods. He would be the hunter and she the bait. As one would expect from such a cliched setting, they got separated and our hunter faced it off alone against a beast near a cliff. After 15 minutes of literal uphill battle, the hunter managed to chop off the werewolf's paw on his axe, just as it was attempting to choke him. The hunter then ran for his life, severed paws still clutched around his throat. By the time he got home, the sun was up and he found his fiancée bleeding, also badly wounded. The paw on his throat had reverted to its human form, and at that moment he noticed it was wearing a ring he had purchased a few days ago. The end. Whoa, that was spooky. I'm still looking for a title. Any suggestions? What about, The Werewolf Bride? Wow, great idea! Really? No, not really. You put the reveal in the title. I mean, fair. I'm not exactly good at naming things. After all, the name of my channel is FPS Gamers 3. That's rough. I've been trying to think of a new name for actually years at this point. I suck at names. There's a reason if I ever play an RPG where the character doesn't have a canon name, I just usually go with either Turk, Zale, or Kyle. Sometimes Zero, not as often anymore. I usually just go with my own name. I also use Riddle every now and then as a reference to an old D&D character and my brother. That's one I use a lot nowadays, because his old Star Wars The Old Republic character name was Riddle, spelled R-Y-D-L-E, Meethise, spelled E-M-E-E-T-H-I-S-S-E, I believe. But you're supposed to pronounce it Riddle Meethise, because Batman the Animated Series, and the Riddler. I usually forego the last name, but I just like the first name Riddle. It's cool. Reminds me an unfortunate amount of Harry Potter, because Tom Riddle. But that's a rare Harry Potter reference for me, because I've never finished all those books. Book 3 and 4 are sitting over on my book stand right now on top of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. And I've been trying to get through it, but school's rough right now, because for those who are wondering what time this is being recorded at, it's March 30th, 2020, amidst all the quarantine. I have all the time in the world, but I still have school stuff to do despite being locked in, so yeah. Looking forward to Resident Evil 3 Remake, though. And Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Persona 5 Royale first, though. The Searing Crags itself, though, doesn't have a gimmick, per se. Aside from being, obviously, we're climbing the mountain, so there's a lot more vertical sections than there have been in the game thus far, meaning if you fall, you're going to have to redo a lot more level. The biggest thing it is that it serves more so as a tutorial for the rope dart, because there's a lot of instances where you can just zoom off into enemies. And the rope dart leads into some interesting momentum game, too, because if you use it correctly, you can zoom off a hook into a lantern or enemy, slash, and just keep your momentum preserved. It's great for speed. Mind you, there's only a couple times in the game that actually encourages you to do that, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, with level design this good, I don't mind. One of the most satisfying feelings in this game is in vertical design sections like this, because if you have a lot of enemies in a row and lanterns, you can just rope dart, double jump, cloud step, all over the place into everything. It feels so good. Also, one very minor complaint. I don't like how the music restarts when you exit a shop. I know why it does it, because of how things work later on. But it's just like, come on. Come on. But that said, the shop theme is also one of my favorites. Just one of the best shop themes I think I've ever heard. It's so catchy. One of the biggest threats in this stage isn't even from the stage, or I guess it is from the stage itself technically, but it's more so from the stalactites that try to fall on you. And this particular power seal room. I remember dying here a couple times when I first played through, because for some reason, I tried to cloud step off those rocks, because you can do that. And no, don't do that. Hitting things that precisely is a little tricky, to say the least. Because the level of precision this game requires is weird. Sometimes it's very humanly possible because you just get really good at adapting to everything. And then there's the occasional power seal room in particular where it's like, yeah, you need to be superhuman. Or just be more patient, which, if you know me, no thank you. It's weird. I'm very patient in games, except for when I'm not. I'm the kind of guy that'll go for platinum trophies, and then also wonder why the hell I'm spending this much time doing stuff. Also, this stage always reminded me a little bit of Mega Man 6, namely Tomahawk Man stage, I believe it was. Just because of the sunset in the background, reminds me a lot of the section where you need to use Rush Jet Adapter to just get up there into the secondary pathway. At least I think that was his stage. It feels right. Despite it being my favorite game of all time, I actually haven't played Mega Man 6 in about half a year at this point. I've been too busy with other stuff. There's always those favorite games you play a lot, and then there's those you savor, like Final Fantasy IX. Every time I play that, that's a savory game. Whereas games like Majora's Mask I've played to death. This is the final major climb in this stage, and it's one of the worst just because if you mess up that particular platform, you're going to have a hard time getting over there. You can rope dart onto certain platforms sometimes, but it doesn't always work correctly. Either way, let's go see what the Shopkeeper has to say about this particular boss fight. Looks like the boss is up. Surely you mean the boss is. Bosses? Bosses. The bosses are up. I need to fight more than one boss here? Well, technically it's more like personal training than an actual fight. What? Ah, don't let me ruin it. Go see for yourself. Okay. Let's see what we have coming up then. Another day, another stew simmering. Oh yeah. Mountain life is a blast, but I miss seeing adventures pass by. I hear you. Remember humans? You bet I do. They were almost as interesting as obvious foreshadowing. Oh look, a human. Who would have thought? Yo, Kolos, check this little guy out. Whoa, Seuses, see that scroll? Hey, little guy, are you the carrier? Don't be serious, Seuses. Everybody knows it's the runner. You're confused, Kolos. I'm pretty sure it's the envoy. No, you've misconstrued, Seuses. It's actually the emissary. Come on, Kolos. I think I remember it being the courier. Seriously, Seuses, how about we agree on the message bearer? We can do, Kolos. Want to test the message bearer's sportsmanship? I thought you'd never ask, Seuses. Let's see what you got, little guy. Alright, boss against Kolos and Seuses. Gee, I wonder what those combine into. Is a bit of a weird one, because we're fighting them both at once. There's always one in the background and one in the foreground, and they have completely different attack patterns. Kolos, or I forget this is Seuses. I forget which one this is. The green one focuses on using its legs. The red one, his arms. Obviously, as you can tell, one of them skipped leg day, one of them did not. The way they throw the rocks from the background, and by the way, I love his background animation there, completely depends on the character. The green one will kick it up into an arc and it'll bounce back into him, leaving him stunned. The red one will just throw it directly at you, so you need to bait it out. Additionally, the red one's completely invulnerable to damage from the front, so you need to get behind him to actually damage him. Doing the little jump attack like this is the best way to do that. The way you stun the red one is eventually the green one comes up and throws him and he tries to shoulder drop you. Just avoid that. He'll also try to run into the wall Mega Man X3 boss style, and obviously that does the same. This is probably my favorite boss in the game from the visual standpoint, just because, like, look at him. What are push-ups? That's great. I laughed a lot when I was playing this game the first time. I think this was the first time I actually had to pause the game because I couldn't handle it for a pure moment. They do get angrier as they go on visually, but I don't think it changes anything with the fight, barring maybe attack speed. I'll be real though, I don't think I've ever avoided the red one's rock throw, and wow, that's a very Mega Man 02 way to end the boss fight. Do I have to reference everything to Mega Man at some point or another? Probably. I don't know, I'm me. Consonet Kolos, the postman packs quite a punch. Savagely stated, Seuses. We like you, little guy. What do you reckon, Kolos? He probably needs to reach the top of our mountain. Seems so, Seuses. I say we help out. Confirmed, Kolos. Let's do this. Thanks for the workout, little guy. Now don't move. This might hurt a little. Wait, what? Ready, Kolos? Set, Seuses. Hut! Ow. Well, I'm hungry now. Shall we snack, Kolos? I descend, Seuses. We promised not to insult our power thistles was ready to add to our part. I forgot completely, Kolos. Surely its magical properties will make us even stronger. It will be succulent, Seuses. It'll be con carne, Kolos. Let's sit by the stew until the thistle is fully grown. I hope that goes well for you two. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, we're going to reach the top of the mountain. See you guys then.